I know my vibration based on what's manifesting around me and how I feel.
Yeah. I know my vibration. Those are really good words. I know my vibration, therefore I know my point of attraction. I know where I'm in the universe, and most important, I know where I am in relationship to my inner being.
So it seems to me,
Yeah.
until there is a thought where I meet a thought, that I don't truly know where my vibration is, because it hasn't been manifested
Really?
or anything yet.
That's right. That's right. So good on physical experience. Doesn't that make the manifestation seem important?
Yes.
And is the thought a manifestation?
Yes.
Yeah. And can we call all that realization?
Yes.
And can we call realization creation?
Mm-hmm. But I get some weird, sick thoughts sometimes. And I go, my inner being must be in some sick place. So
let's talk about this. So your inner being is not in a sick place.
right. We're having fun.
But what you are wanting more definition about is about what the receptive mode is. In other words, when you get into your vehicle, that's where Esther most often thinks of the receiver of her radio stations. The receiver, you can tune it to any broadcast channel, yes? You're in the receptive mode, whether you're listening to one station or another. You've set your receiver into the receptive mode of that.
Got it.
So there's the receptive mode of your inner being, and there is the receptive mode of trouble and torment. And so when something occurs to you, this is why your first statement to us is so important. I can tell by the way I feel and by the way it plays out what my true receptive mode was. So if you're in that high-flying, in tune with pure positive energy mode, and it feels like exhilaration, it feels like passion, it feels like love, it feels like interest, it feels like clarity, it feels like sureness and certainty, it feels so good. And as it unfolds, it feels gooder and gooder and gooder and gooder and gooder. You recognize that, don't you?
Yeah.
And if you're overwhelmed, or if you're defensive, or if you're angry and you feel inspiration, sometimes you get an inspiration from someplace other than in your state of alignment, and you can tell by the way it feels. Now, as it was happening to Esther, in the momentum of her anger and in the momentum of the injustice of it, that just seemed like the best idea in the world. When she's in alignment, that doesn't seem like a very good idea. It was almost the last bad thing Esther ever did. But you get the point that we're making, is that impulses that come seem perfectly normal given the momentum that you have going. And you cannot really be a good evaluator of what it means in the big picture unless you're in that high-flying mode. But you can't know how to be in the high-flying mode unless you have some of the other experience. And therefore, nothing that you do is inappropriate in your way to coming into full alignment with who you are. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
Helpful?
So far.
So far? So now what?
Do you have more? I'll let you flow.
Well, we think that we're all in a place of understanding this. It's tricky for you because as you hear us reveal Esther's deeds, which side of it were you on? You gasped. You were shocked. 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 And yet you sort of understood too, didn't you? And you've done something like that too, haven't you? The reason that we're having this conversation is because we're not wanting you to evaluate the rightness or the wrongness of the action. We're wanting you to understand the receptive mode from which it was inspired. And we're wanting you to understand that you cannot regulate, you cannot prosecute, you cannot execute, you do not have control over the receptive mode of others. You do not have control over what they do, and you can't stop the momentum. You can't get into a guarded enough place as an individual or as a society to stop unwanted momentum. But you can have your personal experience, and your personal experience with who you are. You can come into a clearer space. You can move yourself gradually and steadily into the receptive mode where all of your power is. And we want you all to know that in that receptive mode of your source energy, the leverage of energy, this is the energy that creates worlds. You can grovel around and let air out of tires and bicker over parking places and such in your physical world, but that's not who you are. You were born to come into alignment with the fullness of who you are. And when you do, then that's the current that you are riding. And we think that that's what you are so angry about, is that you know that there is that current that you can ride when often you're riding another current. But you can't do anything about momentum that's already in motion. That's really the point of all of this conversation. You can't do anything about momentum that is in motion other than allow it to play itself out. So we have a visual for you. So envision a plane taking off. So it's on the runway and it's gathering speed and it takes off and it gradually gets itself up to 35,000 feet. So you can sort of see this gradual. And now think for a moment about the momentum of that. Think about impetus, think about momentum, think about energy, think about jet fuel, think about whatever you need to think about that momentum. So it's at 35,000 feet. Now, out there under that airplane, envision a rocket and watch it fire and get to 35,000 feet. Which had more momentum? This or that?
Rocket.
It did, didn't it? And how did it accomplish its faster momentum? More deliberation. And there's focus, decision. In other words, it's two different ways of going about achieving maybe a similar thing, which is the 35,000 feet altitude that we're talking about as a goal. So what we're saying to you, it does not matter what your trajectory of momentum has been relative to any subject. You have the ability here and now to become more defined in what you're wanting and more focused upon what you're doing, and you have the ability to get your momentum going in the direction of what you want anytime. But in order to be that rocket with that faster momentum, it is necessary that you engage this energy that creates worlds. There's a leverage and alignment that just isn't present under any other conditions. And so we're happy to have had this conversation with you about the different receptive modes that you might be in. And we're also happy that you understand firsthand what it feels like to be in the receptive mode that is something not who you now are. In other words, you can't connect with source energy in the way so many of you are doing. You cannot connect with source energy in the conscious, deliberate way that so many of you are doing and ever be happy in your indeliberate approach to life experience. You know too much, you can't go back. You cannot be a deliberate creator and then be a sloppy creator and ever give yourself a break about being a sloppy creator. It's just what the expansion and evolution is. And that is as far as we will go in explaining your unhappiness with being in that lower receptive mode. Now we ask you, in light of what our friend was asking earlier, do these explanations about the laws of the universe help you? Does it help you to understand why things are happening for you and others the way that they are? Does this knowledge give you more insight as to what's happening? And do you need your own exposure to life and your own ability to apply what you're learning in order to find out how it really works? The words don't teach, but the life experience does. Are you in agreement with that?
Yes, indeed.
Doesn't it feel to you like we're all making too much of all of this? That you could just get into a happy place? You could just get into a happy place? So why don't you just get into a happy place? Why don't you just cut it out and get into a happy place? We're serious about this question. Why do you not just stop with the and get up here where you belong? Why?
Why, Abraham? Tell me, why?
Well, use your logic. Tell us, what is it about?
Programming.
Programming's a good word. What is programming? Beliefs. What is belief? Thought you keep thinking. What is all of that? Momentum. Momentum. So even though you might be going like this, do you have the ability at any time to just decide to be a rocket on a subject and go?
Yes.
Could you focus? Could you get deliberate about something?
Yes.
So let's take just 5 minutes here and do that, and then we'll take a segment of refreshment. So what are positive momentum building statements that you could offer for yourself? What's a really base statement that you could make? Something that's right at the core of who you are. Things are always working out for me. That might be a little too advanced. You might not believe that. I'm a good person. How about this one? It is what it is. Everybody can get there. It is what it is. It is what it is. How about this? I give up. I give up. I give up the struggle. I give up the battle. I give up the deception of control. I give up the uncontrollable. I give up the deception of control. I give up. I give in. I give in. I give in. I give in. I give in to what? I give in to my ultimate well-being. I give in to my goodness. I give up the battle and I give in to my goodness. I give in to what? I give in to alignment. Is it moving you in any way? You're giving up the battle and you're giving in to alignment. You're giving in to your goodness. You're giving in to the inevitable worthiness that is you. You're giving in to the unfolding of life. You're giving in to what you gave into when you decided to come. I'm giving in to the probability of happiness. I'm giving up the struggle. If you're giving up the struggle, what are you giving into? Can you find it? Can you find some words? What? Giving into relief. I'm giving into ease. I'm giving into natural. I'm giving into flow. I'm giving into goodness. I'm giving into clarity. I'm giving into the receptive mode. I'm giving into getting a good idea. I'm giving into relief. I'm giving into ease. I'm giving into fun. I'm giving into joy. I'm giving into not giving a rat's ass about what anybody else thinks about anything. I'm giving in to my alignment. I'm giving into my connection. I'm giving up the struggle. I'm giving up the battle. I'm giving into ease. I'm giving into power. I'm giving into clarity. I'm giving into a nap. I'm giving into sleep. I'm giving into rest. I'm giving into feeling good. I'm giving into happy. Play this game with yourself. Do it when you've got a little struggle going and use it to guide yourself back onto the roadway. And notice that the more control you have as you care about how you feel, because sometimes you can say these words and you're right back in alignment, and sometimes you can't, so give in to that. Just stop the struggle and stop the judgment, stop the self-judgment. That's really what we're asking. Stop beating up on yourself about where you are, and stop beating up on others for not understanding where you are. They're not going to get it. It's not their job. It's your job. It's just your job. It's just your job to understand where you are. You're going to live ever after. Might as well decide to be happy. Gets easier when you croak. That part's easy. Whoosh, happy, happy, happy. But there's a reason that you're here, because you like the hands in the clay. You like the deliberate intent. You like the freedom of getting to choose. You like the benefit of being out here on the leading edge where all the juice is. You like that feeling. You said it to us. You like that feeling of the thought turning to the thing and you getting to witness it and guide it. You like the deliberate control of the inevitable natural happiness that is the way you are, you see. This is a good conversation. Do you feel easier about life? You feel like you want to take a softer approach? You feel like you'd like to let others alone a little bit and let them do as they want to do? You feel like you're ready to give up the control, to give in to the inevitable, to allow the well-being to be, to let the earth spin in its orbit, to let your heart pump on its own tonight? Oh, got to set my alarm. Got to keep that heart pumping. Got to keep that blood flow. I got to metabolize. Oh man, I got a long list of things I got to do. Earth in orbit, sun coming up, water moving around the planet, seeds turning to crops. The animals have to keep propagating. Plants have to keep being, have such responsibility. You don't, do you? The well-being is so dominant. You just have to find your place in it. And your place in it is not in struggling to maintain it. It's maintaining. Your problems will maintain your solutions. And your questions will maintain your answers. And collectively, you are all of such benefit to one another. You are eternally living. You might as well live happily ever after, yeah?